Hey guys, John with JRSP, Johnson Reality Self Protection. So, the difference between self protection and self defense that a lot of people don't ever go into or talk about. The difference between self protection and self defense is that, you know, in self protection, like, uh, we train like situational awareness and, conflict engagement and disengagement and de-escalation basically. So what that means, like, whereas if self-defense, if you look self-defense up in the dictionary, it's the act of defending somebody. It's the defending yourself from, like, basically a physical attack, which, I mean, it could mean a bunch of other things as well, but I mean, if you look it up in the dictionary, that's basically what it is. Like with self-protection, if you're a good self protection practitioner, you should have saw that attack coming from miles away, and, like, been able to avoid that. Okay, like, that's why, I don't have a record. I'm 35 years old. Like, I've been in some situations when I was younger, and then a situation, like a couple situations, and a situation back in, it was like 2021, 2022, where, I had to, you know kick a guy's rear end, named Robert Lyle. I'll throw his name out there because, yeah, like, I mean, ultimately we made it cool, but, like, still, it's like, I'm not cool with that dude. Like, he, like, it was just a bunch of stuff. Like, we'll just go on the whole story because I started talking about this story, like, back when I was doing the AI, text to speech, and I didn't really like how it turned out, but it's posted up uh, on this channel somewhere. I'm probably gonna delete that after I make this one to just talk about it. Well, back then I went down to see, like, my wife now, like, and I would stay down there, like, at her place. That she was living with her parents, and, I would stay down there, like, and this was like North Fort Myers. They live in North Fort Myers, like a place called Palmona Park or whatever, something like that, if you know about it. But it's not that great of an area. But either way, like, I met my wife now, like, and but she lived down there, and so I would drive down there. I would stay with them, and she had this weird, like, I thought it was weird, like, it was. Like, he was a family friend, but he's like in his freaking 40s or something, and, like, way older than her and me, and but he's like a friend of her mom and dad and whatnot, and, like, but he just had this weird thing about my girlfriend, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time and not my wife. He had this weird relationship with her, like, and they just all acted like, her parents and her and stuff, they just all acted like it was normal. Like, and I thought, like, I was like, no, this is not normal, bro. Like, and I was like, dude, are you and him, like, a thing, or have y'all ever been a thing? It's like how it was, and some people be like, whoa, if you have that thought, it probably was. But her parents assured me it wasn't that way. She assured me it wasn't that way. Um, but still, I was like, how they interact with each other is weird, man. Like, but later on, I come to find out, like, even my wife was uncomfortable with how he acted, like, around her. But it's like, it was like he wanted to have a relationship with her, is what I feel like, or something. He had some, but, like, he was, just waiting for the right time or whatever, or something like that. Like, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he's just. The bottom line is, it was weird, and, um, like, but they were assuring me, hey, nothing's going on, nothing's going on. So, I just put it on the back burner for a while, But this all escalated into something crazy, and it wasn't even about any of that. It was about this, but this is kind of the show right here, how this guy was, because, okay, like, I've been training at this point, you know, I had, you know, long since done 7 months of Chinese Sanda kickboxing, 5 months of judo, and then went on to train in my own system that at the time was called SEERDO, which stands for the Simple, Effective, Aggressive, Realistic Way. And that's an in-depth curriculum in itself. But it's just about doing things, and we'll get into SEERDO, we'll crack that open because it's actually a good curriculum. But I still train in SEERDO. SEERDO is just now a part of JRSP, just like Jokindo is a part of JRSP as well. And then tactile illumination and our baton system. There's a bunch of things that make up JRSP, but SEERDO is one of them. But in SEERDO, it was the first curriculum that I ever made. It was after I had two falling outs with the Sanda. I had the falling out with the Sanda place, and I had a weird falling out with the judo place, which we talked about in the last video. But I took everything that I'd learned up till then, and just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna create my own system. I'm gonna continue to train, but I'm gonna train in how I feel things should be done. Basically, how I feel things work for me, because I have like a learning disability, a learning disorder or whatever, and I have ADHD on top of that. So sometimes it makes it hard for me to get things right off. Like where some people could just walk across the bridge and have it. I have to climb over the mountain and freaking fight dragons and have do quests for people like halfway up the mountain, villagers or something. It's like can't even get beyond a certain point because I have to fight a cave troll to save the villager's daughter, the villager chieftain daughter, and stuff like that. By the time I get to the conclusion, what somebody got easily just by walking across the bridge, by the time I get there, I'm a different person, battle hardened, and I have an appreciation for it that the person who it came easy for don't have, because it's how it always has been. It's been hard for me to get stuff, so I always end up having to do things a different way. I have to look at something and be like, I have to do it in a way that it works for me. And that's how I've just always had to function. And 35 years later, here I am still being successful and stuff like that. When I worked at Domino's, man, that wasn't for me. That was out of my element. I'm glad I don't work there anymore. I do miss my boss. He was great. Me and him were like brothers. I feel we were on the same page, and we had so much in common. And I have to go back and see him because great dude. But and I appreciate everything about my boss because he knew that I was like a fish out of water there, but he always did everything to help me and everything, and it was never a situation where it was like, what, maybe this just ain't for you or whatever. He was always supportive and everything and stuff like that. Great dude, can't talk highly enough about him. But Domino's was one of those things where it's like yeah, everything. I'm not a good computer guy and stuff like that, but I had to learn to take orders and stuff on the computer and stuff. And guess what? I surprised myself because I had always stayed away from jobs where you had to be on a cash register, you had to count money and stuff, because that was always a huge fear of mine. But when you force yourself to do something, you're like, what? I'm gonna overcome this fear. I'm gonna do it. You force yourself to do something, you realize that you're capable of doing things that you thought that you never would be capable of doing things, and that was how it was with Domino's. But there, I did have to learn to do things in my own way, and that's how it was with martial arts as well. And after I had my falling outs with Sanda kickboxing and the judo place, I created my own system, which is SEERDO, which actually embodies. SEERDO basically represents, it stands for, like I said, the Simple, Effective, Aggressive, Realistic Way, but it represents two different things. It represents, the fact that I did 7 months of Sanda kickboxing, and ultimately, really, it amounted to nothing and that was Chinese, and like, you know, and then I went and did 5 months of judo and actually learned a lot more in a shorter amount of time, and like really adopted the the Japanese principles really of doing things. Whereas, you know, it's like the Chinese Santa kickboxing was at a kung fu place, Choi Lei Fut Kung Fu. Okay, and kung fu. I have no love for kung fu, and I like the Santa kickboxing, but ultimately, it's like, did I learn some things? Yeah, but um, that's another discussion for another day. But yeah. So anyhow, uh, I'd done all that and then went like years doing my own thing, which was Cyrdo. Um, and in Cyrdo, we have uh, like the Cyrdo credo is only fight to protect. I created this credo back in 2015 and like wrote it down, put it on the door of my bedroom, and would get up and I would say this credo every single day. And I still say this credo to like I still like have this credo, like I recite this credo every single day. This is what I live by. Okay, and I recite this to my son and my daughter before they go to sleep. And it's like only fight to protect. Only fight to defend. Never be afraid to stand. Never be afraid to strike. Always stay calm. Always stay in control, or always stay collected. Like, so that's the pseudo credo, okay? And then, you have E&E, which we talked about in the last video. Engage, neutralize, and exit. Like if you have to, if you're in a situation where you have to, um, be in a conflict with somebody, we always say it's always better to walk away. If you can walk away, it's always better to walk away. That's the first thing. It is always better to walk away. Basically, always better remove yourself from the situation. But if you cannot do that, okay, you're in a situation where removing yourself from the situation is impossible, or it's just a situation that to remove yourself from it would cause later damage to you, which we'll get into. um, you know E&E: engage, neutralize, and exit the situation. So that's basically what Cyrdo is built upon, the E&E. And then there's a whole curriculum of how we do things, which we're actually going to make a whole freaking course on the Cyrdo course on this channel. I just decided that right now, going on the curriculum, how we do things. Um, we'll talk about stuff like the philosophies, and then I'll show you the techniques that are trained, because I need to get back into training that, because I got in good shape. I would train that like freaking yeah. But anyhow, the point is, I'm down in North Fort Myers, with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and we're at her parents' house, and there's this weird guy. He's been coming around. In the moment that me and her started dating, this dude started he started coming around for a minute. I never saw the dude, and then the moment that they're like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna introduce you, because of the weird dynamic. They had already told me about the weird relationship that just was automatically sent off red flags, and I was like, you know what, I don't know if I want this guy around, because that sounds completely weird. So they kind of respected that at first, and then stuff happened, and I was like, okay, well, well, let me meet the guy then. Let him come over. So the moment he came over, he was never gone. Okay, he was always there. And he was always saying things. The first day that I met him, he was they walked outside. He had a girlfriend. And but my wife, his girlfriend, and her parents walked outside to do something, and as me and him were about to go out, he he caught me. The door was shut, but he caught me, and he got real close, and he was like, oh yeah, hey, she's like a daughter to me. I'm just letting you know, hey, because me and her, because of her parents were always trying to cause trouble, between us, and later on that became abundantly evident. But like because of her parents, sometimes we would argue and stuff, and like she would get her feelings hurt, like, and she would cry. Well, um he like came up and he was like, hey, it's like, you made her cry, man. I'm just letting you know she's like a daughter to me. I look at her like a daughter. It's like if you ever make her cry again, you'll have me to deal with. And you can't make this up. God striking me dead with lightning. I'm not like making this up for comical effect or anything. Like when I look back on it, it was pretty funny, but like it wasn't funny at the time because no, like, this dude don't know me. This dude don't know where I come from. This dude don't know that I would squash him into the ground, you know. And I was about to let him know right then and there. Look, dude, I don't answer. I don't know who. I just met you just a few moments ago, bro. It's like I don't look to you for anything. If I have any problems between her, like, you know, I would deal with her parents or whatever. I guess, like, you know. But she's an adult. I'm an adult. You know, I don't answer to you for anything. I didn't get a chance to say that though because this dude was eating freaking pistachios. You cannot make this up. He was eating freaking pistachios. And right after he said that, and I don't know if this was like some way of like, sometimes I think like maybe this was just his way to try and like break the mood or whatever because he knew that I was about to tell him something or whatever. But the dude like choked on a pistachio. He literally started choking on the pistachio. And so I couldn't, instead of me telling him, look, dude, I don't freaking answer to you for anything. Like, if I answered to anybody, it would be to her parents, but she's an adult. Like, I'm an adult. It's like whatever happens, happens, you know. But he's choking on a pistachio now. I'm having a hard time like freaking saying pistachio for some reason, but like he's choking on a pistachio, and so now I have to be like, oh hey buddy, like he's over there choking to death. I have to be like, I'm like this right here, like, dude, you gonna die on me? You gonna die? You know, it's like so it kind of makes that veiled threat, and then like I have to save his life, like from choking on that pistachio. He was like legit choking, as far as I'm concerned. God struck me dead with lightning. That's a true story. But so I didn't get a chance to really like check him like I should have checked him because you got to check people sometimes, like because then they'll think, oh, that you're like a bitch and like you're not gonna stand up for yourself. I didn't get a chance to freaking like correct that because he choked on a pistachio. Well, time went on. The dude would never. He was all from that point on. He was always there, and it was like he was like jealous of the fact that I'm with my girlfriend now. Like, and the dude has a girlfriend, but like it was him who had the weirdness going on in his brain. I don't know exactly what was going on in his brain because I'm not a mind reader, but all I know is that he was giving off real weird vibes. He had like an obsession with my girlfriend, and like and he would constantly do things that was like trying to like veiledly letting me know like, oh yeah, you know, I have a better relationship with her than you do, you know, like I've been here for a long time, you're just like the new guy, you know, and you're probably just going to be like a temporary guy, you know, or whatever and stuff like that, but I'll be here and stuff like that. And he would say like veiled things like one time he was like, oh, um yeah, you know, me and her are so close. We could walk two different directions in a Walmart and still wind up meeting each other or whatever. And then later on, my old lady, it's like her parents were idiots. Okay, still to this day, I'll say that. Okay, like it, like God bless them, but it's like they just made a lot of bad choices in their lives. Like they let a lot of people uh, they had interaction with a lot of people who were bad that took advantage of them and stuff like that and whatever. They just had no common sense. But it's like my old lady, like I told my old lady, like, yeah, he was like all the things that he's saying and stuff. He's being weird, man. Like, and like but they were always like, her parents were like, no, no, he's just this great guy. He's our real good friend. He always helps us out and stuff like that and whatever and stuff. But, you know, I watch a lot of like law and crime now. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of great family friends and stuff who aren't so great and like who are, you know, actually doing things that they shouldn't be doing and stuff like that. And my old lady has assured me like over and over because I've been like, did something ever go on with you and him or whatever? And she's assured me no, like over and over and over and over again. And where she has told me some things that happen with other people and stuff like so. Um, I'm 98% sure nothing went on, but um the point is, I think that he wanted something to go on. He had some uh, dark, twisted fantasies in his brain and stuff, like as a man, and as a lot of men do. But yeah, like he started like really trying to assert dominance. And at that point, her and the family are like, yeah, no, it's just like. So I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever, because I'm like the odd man out. I'm the new guy, okay. So, like, I realized I'm smart at this point. I'm like, I'm just gonna let this play out and see where this goes because I know that if I start like bowing up, and I think that's what he was trying to get me to do, is but be like, and like because he knew that he already had established a place there. I was a new guy. If I freaking did anything, they would try and freaking be like, "Oh, you're a horrible guy," which that's what ended up happening like later on because like me and her family, we do not talk at all. Because basically, and what ended up happening was a catalyst to that. But one day, like he was like he was getting so bold that like he's like slapping my girlfriend's butt, like trying to do it in front of me and stuff like that. I guess trying to get a rise out of me or something like that. But I'm like, I just had that thought in my head. I'm just gonna let this play out and see because they're like defending them and stuff like that. So, it's like they have dug their grave. Like he like slapped my old lady's rear end like right in front of me, and I just didn't. I just ignored it, bro. Like, because they're telling me, no, there's nothing. No, he's not like that, and everything and stuff like that. But her mom, he did it right in front of me and in front of my old lady's mom, like sitting in their dining room at their table. So. I was just on my phone pretending like I didn't notice anything, but they looked at me like, "Oh, are you just gonna take that?" It's like, and I just like blew it off like but he was doing stuff like that, little stuff like that, trying to get a rise, stuff that like he should have had his ass kicked for. I should have kicked his ass. I had every right to kick his ass, but I was letting it play out, and ultimately it played out in the sense of like, dude, like he came over one day, and nothing seemed wrong between us. We're hanging out, we're talking, and stuff like that. Well, me and my old lady got into an argument because there was a misunderstanding. She misheard something that I said, and she got into an argument, and her dad flipped out because we were like arguing, and her dad handled shit completely the wrong way, like. But he blew up and he walked out. So then her mom walked out. Then this dude, like, he was being loud the whole night, and like and so we had a misunderstanding because nobody could hardly hear anybody talking, and she thought I said something that I didn't say, and like I swore up and down. I swore on my dad's grave and my grandparents' grave, like I didn't say it. It's like but what ended up happening was this dude walked out like to go talk to the parents that were outside, like his dad blew up and he's cooling down. And so I go to talk to my old lady who's now freaking like an emotional wreck because everything and stuff like that. And right when I go to talk to her, this dude busts back through the door, okay? And he's like, hey, he told you to freaking drop it. Like, he's like in my face. He's like point blank in my face. Like, freaking, he's so close to my face. Like, spit is coming out of his mouth and hitting me in the face. He's screaming in my face. He's like, he told you to drop it. It's like, and I'm like, and he's just, I can't even remember everything he said, but he's just in my face, like irate, screaming. And, like, oh, he said, you made her cry. Look, you made her cry. I told you. It's like, he said to drop it. Like, and so I'm like, what, man? I can't even talk to I'm trying to freaking work it out, like, with my girlfriend, it's I can't even talk to my girlfriend. He's like, no, he's like screaming in my face, and then he storms out. That dude don't know like who I am, where I come from. It's like, but you don't do that. Like in the county where I come from, maybe you do that over in Lee County like an idiot. You don't do that in Hardee County. Like we're different people. Okay. So I tell my girlfriend, my wife now, okay, like, cause we work things out, me and her, and we've been good. And now we have two kids and everything. And we have nothing to do with any of them, okay. But anyhow, um, I tell her, look, you see, this is what happens when like you try and let them freaking like dictate our relationship. It's like we're both adults. I don't know why they're so involved in our problems, but it causes problems. It's like they need to freaking back up and mind their own business and let us deal with our own stuff. Like but I'm like, you see, this is what happens. Now I have to go freaking deal with this. Okay, because what he did was absolutely unacceptable. What he did, you know, there's no, I have to go deal with this. So I go out, you know, and this dude was carrying one of those like, mossy oak. Um, it's like a skinning knife. It has like replaceable blades or whatever, like the replaceable razor blades. But he's such a dumbass that he never would replace the blade. He just sharpened the replaceable blade, like whatever. Like, but I knew that he had that because like situational awareness. Sirdo is a self protection system, not a self defense system. And in self protection, we study situational awareness and we study conflict engagement and conflict disengagement and conflict de-escalation and stuff like that. And E&E, engage, neutralize, and exit. So I have to go talk to this dude because nobody gets in my face like that. It's complete disrespect. I had never disrespected this dude. But you get in my face like that. The only reason I didn't thrash him in her parents' house is because we were in her parents' house and they have a bunch of, antique stuff and whatever, her grandparents' urns and whatnot and stuff like that. Out of respect, if we would have been outside and he did that, I would have beat the holy hell out of the dude. Okay, but only fight to protect, only fight to defend. Never be afraid to stand, never be afraid to strike. Always stay calm right there. Always stay in control. So I executed that personally. I stay calm, I stay in control. And when I walked up to him after I walked outside, I didn't walk right up to him into his face because I always respect people's space. That's something that we're going to talk about too. Like when you're out in public, respect people's space. You never want to stand so close to somebody that you could touch them. If I could touch you with my foot, you're still too close. Maybe I can't touch you with my hand, but if I could kick you, you're still too close. And people like to get right up on you, in grocery store lines and stuff. I always put that buggy behind me so people can't just walk right up on me. I do things in a way, if I go to the bathroom, I always go into a stall and shut the door behind me. Even if I just have to take a piss, I freaking go into, I hardly ever use a urinal because you never know what's going to pop off. It's like you want that freaking barrier in front of you. I mean, somebody could break down a bathroom stall easily if they want to get in there, but it's like you're gonna know they're coming. So anyhow, when I walked up to him, I didn't walk up to him. I didn't get into his face like he got into my face. I freaking got to I was at a respectful distance. I said, and I told him I didn't yell or anything. I was very calm about how I did things. Because I always say calm, always in control. But I told him, don't ever get in my face like that again. Okay. I told him, I said, I've never disrespected you. That was unacceptable. That was disrespect right there. Don't ever do that again. Okay. It's like, and what does he do? Instead of, taking the hint, he thought that I was just some big old baby, I guess. He got right back up in my face and was like, oh, what are you going to do? And he's yelling. He's like, you ain't do anything, do not. I ain't afraid to throw the first punch. And, all I remember was he had that knife. I know he had that knife. Now, we have to go into, from always stay calm, always stay in control, from the credo to engage, neutralize, and exit. Okay, like that's where we're at now, because now he's a threat. He just been warned, and now I have to execute. Like, he just crossed the line. My cousin once told me, how he never lost a fight was that he drew a mental line in the sand, and if somebody crossed that mental line, he took them out. And so that's how it is. Like that warning was the mental line. And instead of heeding that warning, he got right back up in my face and was like, "I ain't afraid to throw the first punch." And right then, I got him, and I grabbed him. I guess we can demonstrate on Bob. You know, like I did something like this right here. Then I moved around, and I had a travel wrench. I guess we'll have to use the FCP. But I moved around, and I had the travel wrench, dug in right here. I didn't have a really good cinch on a rear naked choke, but I had him here. Then I threw him to the ground, and from there, when I had him here, I did one of those right there, because wherever the head goes, the body doesn't follow. Once you got somebody, if you get somebody in a hold like this, whether you got a rear naked choke cinched in or not, or whatever, the moment you get somebody here, it's like, don't just stand there. The moment you get somebody here, go ahead and spin them down, because, you always got to keep moving. You can take them down like that, but that's what I did to him. Then we're on the ground. I still have him here. He turns into, from "I'm not afraid to throw the first punch" to "now I got him" in a freaking hold. It wasn't even a good cinched in rear naked choke, but I had the travel wrench also locked against his shoulder, like this right here, digging in his shoulder like that. So it probably was not so painful. Because at the same time, it's like, I'm not really trying to hurt this dude. I don't know what's going on with the dude. We were just cool, and the dude just snapped. He was texting the mom, I think he wants to, he has a problem with me or something. We went from just being cool to this dude's all paranoid or whatever. And then he blows up like this. So, he went from "I'm not afraid to throw the first punch" to now he's on the ground and I have him in a hold. I'm dominating him. And he talked about how strong he was, but when I had him right in that hold, he felt weak. And now he's like, "Get off me! Get off me! Ah, get off!" And so then her dad, who should have, been in the situation the whole time. It was his property, his castle in Florida. You have the My Castle law, and the, man, what is the one? Stand Your Ground. You have My Castle and Stand Your Ground. So I was covered by My Castle and Stand Your Ground, because it wasn't my castle, but I was in a place. Her parents were mad, but they had not asked me to leave. So I was in a place where I had a right to still be. So I had a right to stand my ground. Because that's what he started doing. When he's like, "I'm not afraid to throw the first punch," and that's when I freaking got irate at that point, but I'm still holding my control. And I was like, I forget, something was said in between us there, but what he started doing was, after whatever was said, he started saying, "Leave, leave." He started doing that, throwing his hand out, "Leave," and this isn't his property, and that's why I'm covered by the Stand Your Ground. It's like, her parents aren't telling me to leave. Who are you? You're their friend. This isn't your property. But he's demanding that I leave. Leave. And when he did that, that's when I was like, "Make me," And that's when he was like, "I'm not afraid to throw the first punch." He got in my face. And that's when I took him down and everything and stuff like that. So then what happened was, after that, he her dad finally grew a spine in his back and decided to get in like between us, like get off, y'all break it up, you know. And so the moment he freaking comes in between us, I let him go because it's his castle, you know. But now they're acting like I'm the dad and the mom are acting like I'm some bad dude. This dude's tune goes from I'm not afraid to throw the first punch to that's assault. Call the cops. Call the cops right now. Like so, my girlfriend's mom is calling the cops and the cops are on the way. And this dude, you can't make this up. And I said this dude's name again because he's a freaking idiot. Robert Lyle. Okay. Um, he he had weed and drug paraphernalia on him. And he's like on probation or something. This dude has a history of violence. I don't have a history of violence. This dude has a history of like popping off and domestic assault and stuff like that. I did a research on him. I pulled his record. So he just has a history of this stuff. Well, he had drug paraphernalia on him and stuff like that, and he has the cops coming now, and then the dumbass remembers that he's got a pipe and everything on him and stuff like that, and so you know what he decides in that moment. You know what? I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. So he's like, you know what? I'm leaving, and so he started walking off down the road. But he's like, but if I ain't coming back if he ever is here, and he's cussing all the way up the road. So to make this long story shorter, I get in my Ford Ranger at the time, and I'm like, you know what? If he's leaving and the cops are coming, I'm out of here as well. And the dad's like making it out like it's all my fault and everything and stuff like that. And, it's really all his fault because he should have like calmed his best friend down and like been like, hey man, you need to chill out or you need to go. Like, her dad sat there and let this situation escalate to the point that it escalated to. But he's trying to make it out like it's all my fault and everything and stuff like that. See, this is why I just wanted you to drop it and everything. This is what happens, and I was just like, hey, well, guys, hey, I'm sorry that all this happened, but the cops are coming, so I'm out of here too. And I get in my truck and I'm leaving, and I get halfway down the road, and that dude's like, because they had you had to drive down a road, and you had to turn onto another road, then you had to turn on another road, freaking like get back onto the main road. Well, I get halfway down the first road, and the dude messaged me on Facebook Messenger because we were friends on Facebook and we could contact and we talked to each other on Facebook Messenger. Like, before everything popped off here, other than the fact that there was this weird dynamic going on, like where he was like trying to like alpha male me and stuff like that with my own girl, like or whatever, other than that, like I just been ignoring that. We talked to each other like and stuff like that, and we were cool. So I think that because of his failed attempts at alpha mailing me, I think that like it had a reverse effect. He was trying to get under my skin, and I think it got under his skin that I wasn't letting it get under my skin, and that's what led to this blow up. But like I get halfway down that road, and he hits me up on Facebook Messenger, and he's like, "It's not over between us. I'm coming back with the cops." So you cannot make this up. God strike me dead with lightning if I'm lying to any of y'all guys right now. Okay. So I get to the road that you have to turn off to get onto the other road and everything. And the moment I get to that road, I'm turning on that road, 3 Lee County sheriffs and explorers are coming up. And they don't turn on their lights, but they do hit me with a flash bar. They flash me with their light bar. And so I pull up, roll down the window, and they're like, hey, can you shut the vehicle off and everything and stuff like that. My truck had dual exhaust and it's loud. And so I shut it off. I'm there like cross-talking with the first one. And they're like, do you know anything about this thing that happened up the road here and stuff like that? And hey, since he just told me he's coming back with the cops, I think he's with them. So, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I respect, police officers and everything, and I'm not trying to make their jobs harder, and I'm not trying to lie and stuff like that, but the thing is, it's like, so I had to be truthful because he told me he was coming back with him just like moments before I freaking pull up on him, and so I figure he's in the Explorer, one of the Explorers with the cops or something, he's riding or whatever, like, so I'm like, yeah, I was one of the dudes involved, and this is what happened and stuff like that. And they're like, can you get out? And can you pull over? Can you get out? And so now I'm detained by the Lee County Sheriff's Department. Like, so two of the deputies go down to talk to my girlfriend's parents, and the other one stays with me, and I'm detained on the hood of the one of the Explorers right there. Like, so, and I'm telling him everything that is going on. Ended up, the dude wasn't Robert Lyle was not with those cops. So I stopped. Like, I'm not big on lying. I'm something that I am is a truth teller. Like, I don't like to lie. I don't like to exaggerate things. Nothing that I'm telling you is exaggerated. Like, when I say God strike me dead with lightning, and I've said it several times, like during this video, like, it's not exaggerated. This is how exactly it happened. Um, Robert Lyle wasn't with them, and I'm not like big on lying, but if I would have known that he wasn't going to be with them, I'd have been like, yeah, I don't know nothing about it, and like freaking just drove on, and like made my way back miles to my home county, and like not had to been detained by the cops, because I could have gone to jail that night if things went a little bit differently. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, that's why it's always better just to walk away. But this was a situation that I couldn't just walk away from, because if I walked away from this situation, I would have probably lost my girl that's my wife, because sometimes you can't show weakness. This dude was trying to like alpha male me, and to a point, like, if I would have freaking walked away, if I would have left, like when he was telling me to leave, then I would have just been seen as a little bitch, and I would have lost all respect in that family and everything and stuff like that, and probably my my girlfriend, who was not my wife, would have probably lost respect. I think he was trying to get with her or something. She didn't know it, and like she would never. But like he would have, I don't know. He would have been trying to move up on her or something like that. He was trying to get me out of the picture, is what I feel like was going on. But anyhow, like I end up like they freaking said, the other two deputies come back and they're like, yeah, well, that dude's gone, and they said it was like a mutual combat situation, so you're free to leave. And I was so mad, man. Like, I texted him and I said, if you ever do that again, man, like, I had some things to say. I shouldn't have said what I said, but he is such a little bitch. Like, still freaking tried to, like, he tried to take, like, this dude's acting so big. He tries to take the message that I sent him, like, and try to take it to the cops and still get me fired, man. Or not fired. He tried to get me arrested. Like, he was trying to do all kinds. They told me like later on he's like trying to do all kinds of little things. Like he's trying to punch himself in the face or something to be like, this is look what he did to me. Like I'm miles off. Like minding my own business is like dropped it, and like he was like still just eat up like for the longest that like he got handled by me basically. And but ultimately, thing about Robert Lyle is, like, I told him straight up. I said, because my wife's parents, they were always trying to play mediator with everything, always trying to control everybody. And like, but I told him straight up. I said, because he had blocked me on social media, but I had to make a completely new Facebook to freaking message him on like Facebook to freaking tell him, look, like, her parents aren't going to mediate. If you want to be cool or whatever, or you want to get this done, you want to settle this, her parents aren't the mediators of this. Okay, it's like we're not settling it at their house either. Okay, and we're not settling it. They're not going to have anything to do with us settling this. Okay, if you want to settle this, you meet me like a man somewhere, like on mutual ground, and we'll settle this. And he went on like being a little coward, sniveling coward for a long time, and he like, but finally, yeah, I gotta give props to people, like where it's due, because he did man up, and he like came to me at the news press in Fort Myers, because their parents worked at the news press, like, and we'd go down there, me and my old lady, and we'd help them roll their papers sometimes and stuff like that. He did man up, and he did like. Um, he was like, are we cool? You know, like, and I pulled him close, and like, and I was like, are we? You know, like, cause I wasn't afraid. I tried to be a peacemaker, but you know, this when somebody like that almost got me arrested and stuff like that, you know, like, and then did a bunch of bitch shit, like behind my back and whatever, and talked a big game after he already got his ass kicked or whatever, you know. It's like, I mean, this dude was trying to like, dude, I just got the dude in a freaking hold, okay? Like, and then held him. Like, I never threw a punch or anything. Her mom, like, the piece of crap that she was, she's on the phone when she's calling the cops saying, yeah, one guy hit, like, the one dude hit the one dude. Nobody hit nobody, okay? But, like, that's how things go. Like, but the point I'm getting at is, it's a long story, is dude, this dude's like trying to like the story like exploded in Fort Myers. I don't even live in Fort Myers. I don't even live or in Lee County. I lived in Hardy County. Okay, miles away. I was driving a long way to like see this chick because man, like, yeah, we were, yeah, she was the one. But the point is, you know, the story went from, oh, you know, I choked the dude out to, oh, yeah, I freaking just hauled off and beat the dude to a bloody pulp and he's like freaking coughing up blood and stuff and whatever. And he was going around telling people this. It's like, dude, if you get your butt kicked, which I say I kicked his butt, but like really I just dominated him. But like if you get your butt kicked, you don't admit that you got your butt kicked. You be like, yeah, it's like freaking he got me, but you know, it's like you ought to see him, I got him too. That's how I was. This dude was just trying to play ultimate victim. But ultimately he did freaking man up. But still really it was a setup by her parents because her parents were like, hey, you know, like I had made it clear to them I didn't want no involvement from them, and they still freaking did their bullcrap because we looked at it later on because they were like, hey, you know, like your mom left something at the house because we're going to the drop, like what they call it, drop at the newspaper press. Your mom left something at the house. Y'all run back and get it and meet us back up there because they knew that dude was going to be there. And then when I got there, he was there, and so they still kind of had their way in freaking like freaking being where they weren't supposed to be in business that they didn't need to be in. But in a way, you know, like it still takes a man to freaking own up. He said he was in the wrong and everything, and it was what it was. So, like, you gotta have respect because some people would just continue being a bitch and never own up and never admit that they were in the wrong. And you know, like, so he owned up, but that's what it was. He that's my story there about that. But in that story, I know it's a long-winded story. It's like, you know, but the point is that basically represented everything that I'd been training in myself. You know, I like executed the credo. You know, only fight to protect, only fight to defend, never be afraid to stand, never be afraid to strike, always stay calm, always stay in control. You know, and in E&E, engage, neutralize, and exit situation. You know, he forced me to engage. I neutralized the situation. Then I left, I exited the situation. That was freaking E&E in its entirement right there. Okay, because you know I had to stand up for myself in that moment. You don't let people treat you that way. I had to stand up and like let it be known, hey, don't ever do that. He forced my hand there. It's like I just wanted things to be peaceful, but he freaking put me in a situation now where I have to engage, okay, the situation. And then, you know, after everything was done, I left the situation. But hey, you guys, this has been a long video. You guys take it easy. This is Ja with JRSP, Johnson Reality Self Protection. You guys take it easy.